You're over here shilling that they're going to win, and you've been shilling for the past 3 months. This bullshit. You've even went over there. You got pictures. Hey, I was there. Hurrah! MSM. Let's get it done.
But I mean, like, I would say
you have to look at this past your little focused lens of one side.
So,
what are we doing there, and why are you shilling it? 20-something-year-old globalist that understands everything. Corporate warfare. Corporate warfare. That's where we're in, and you're shilling for it.
What? But
you're asking me a simple question. It's so hard, redneck. What do you think is moral? Do you think war's moral, redneck? Which war would be moral, redneck? How about the Civil War? Was that moral, you racist? Or how about the Nazis?
I didn't call you
was it
racist.
Good for us to take them out?
I didn't call you
Dylan,
racist.
you don't have to.
Never...
The way that you act, the smugness, and the way that you present this bullshit. What I'm telling you, you're shilling for free, man. It's corporate. You even flew your own ass. You took your own ass over there to get. Yeah. You took your own ass over there to launch your fucking stream to a higher level. Don't act like you didn't do this shit. Fuck Russia, fuck Ukraine. Okay, fuck them both right now. For me, I don't give a.
What a centrist.
Fuck them both. We blew that pipeline up. We had to. There's no reason.
Hey, redneck, how you doing? What's cracking, fam?
Can you hear me?
What's cracking, fam? I hear you.
Can you? What's cracking? Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing?
What's cracking? Okay. What's going on? I wasn't trying to come in here and have all of that shit posting going on. I was just trying to reciprocate a visit. You visited me. I visit you.
It's okay.
I do want to, disagree with what the fuck you're saying, of course.
Okay.
But, okay. We encroached with NATO. Pre this, we were breaking agreements that we had established. Facts or not facts?
Which agreement? I'm not familiar with the agreement you're referring to.
I'm sorry. I cut out.
I said which agreement? I'm not familiar.
So we told the encroachment of NATO and the alliances.
Yeah. What agreement did we sign that said we would not accept like Poland into like NATO something?
You know the name of it.
I don't.
You want to troll me?
I'm not trolling. I'm asking. I legitimately.
The contentions that's actually in media, the actual story that we've been seeing from both sides, aka the U.S. was encroaching with NATO's of course power, and we had promised we wouldn't take in Poland. We did. We also talked about
when did we promise that we wouldn't take? The thing is,
Go ahead.
The thing is, I can agree with you that NATO expanded, and we can talk about that. But there's a difference between arguing about NATO expanding and arguing if we agreed that NATO would not expand. So my question,
it's the same. Okay, so let's call it this. Let's just call it this then. Since I don't want to get into this game with you right now, I wasn't trying to do this. We have an agreement with China. Okay, listen, we have an agreement with China about Taiwan, do we not?
We have.
Is it contractual? Is it contractual, or is it just an agreement that everybody knows?
It's an agreement. But
okay, that same agreement, that same type of agreement existed with NATO, US, and Russia. And there were some clear boundaries about where we wouldn't encroach or what we wouldn't do. And all of those things were being done. As soon as Biden came into office, you think about this. You think about the things that I'm taking accountability for the U.S., okay? This is a war that's happening in Ukraine. I'm not saying that real soldiers aren't fighting other soldiers, and I'm not saying two countries aren't fighting each other. My contentions is that we are putting ourselves into it. We have injected ourselves into it. We encroached, we created this mess, and his posturing is allowing him to maintain a power over us. And we are pumping in millions and billions of fucking dollars over there. For no reason.
So I would say that I don't know what agreement you're referring to. I'm gonna take a guess.
I just told you. The same agreement that we have with Taiwan.
You said, but those are separate agreements. Those are separate agreements.
But it's still Dylan, for fuck's sakes.
Well, I haven't gone past like square one. All I'm asking is, what was this agreement? You're saying the agreement was made. I'm just asking, what was the agreement? Because what I think you're referring to is the conversation it had with Gorbachev in private during the collapse of the Soviet Union about the expansion of NATO bases into East Germany. That's what I think you're referring to, unless you're referring to something else.
As I said, I'm referring to the same agreement that the media has talked about from both sides, left and right, including they narrate the same with China, because we all know the political gamemanship that's happening right now is, okay, well, what's China going to do with Taiwan? This agreement our government has had not to encroach on Russia's borders further than what they have already established by not taking in certain new countries.
Which countries did we agree not to take in?
I don't know them all. I do not know them all, Dylan. I'm not sitting there trying to...
But the thing is, if you're saying we broke the agreement, you need to tell me how we broke it.
You're acknowledging that the agreement was in place. Why are you
doing
like this?
See,
this is my point. You're being disingenuous right now. You really are.
I'm not being disingenuous because
you definitely are.
The reason I'm not being disingenuous is because if you ask scholars or ask people who know about the agreement, people will disagree about the agreement, right? The Russian government says, hey, there was an agreement made that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, NATO would not expand at all, right? That's what the Russian government says. The American government says that there was an agreement made behind closed doors with Gorbachev that the United States would not expand NATO bases into East Germany. And that's what the agreement entailed, and it entailed nothing else. Gorbachev, once talking about this agreement, he kind of like goes back and forth. It's kind of hard to find a concrete statement, but there's a few statements where he specifically has said that this agreement only had to do with East Germany, and it did not reflect the rest of Europe or other NATO states joining. So there's disagreement on it. And so because there's that disagreement, it's hard for me to look at that and say, look at that solid commitment that we made to stop stop the expansion of NATO. And so that's why I'm asking you, because I would like to see if you could bring something to my attention that I'm not familiar with before, because this is all I know of up to this point about this agreement. It was also, by the way, none of this was on paper. It was all just verbal, by the way.
And again, when I said an agreement, you said what agreement? So you went down this path of acting like you don't know any agreements being made. So I used the analogy of the same agreement. Hang on. I then used the analogy of the same agreement that we have with China in regards to Taiwan. Is it written, the one China policy? Is it written in a contract that the U.S. signed? Can you answer that? You said no, it's not really. It's just a known thing.
Actually, no, we kind of did. We signed. There's we did sign agreements. Jimmy Carter signed agreements. It's just the words and said agreements. We disagree what the words entail and what exactly they mean about what China we recognize as the real China with the one China policy. Because the Chinese will say there's the one China principle, which America's agreed to, and America will say, no, we haven't. We agreed to the one China policy. We don't agree to the one China principle. There's a distinction. So there are things we signed when it comes to Taiwan with the Chinese. It's just that's the problem is I would like to see if there's any substantial thing somebody can put in my face that shows that we agreed that we wouldn't expand NATO into Poland or Estonia or Latvia, because I've heard this argument made. It's just I haven't seen anything concrete presented to me about that.
Okay, wait a minute. So here you are trying to. Okay, wait a second. I'm not going to let you steel man me or even straw man me. In both cases, either way you want to go with this, because you're not going to use me as a scapegoat to make your point about Russia, an agreement, didn't have it, and so your stupidity about your stupidity about the region means that argument's invalid. There was no agreement.
Then you go talking about the region.
No, I'm saying you to me. Okay, I'm giving you what you're saying to me, because you're not steel manning me and you're not straw manning me. I'm not going to let you straw man me and say, I've heard this used before, but it's not the same. So why don't you enlighten me to then make me look like an idiot? And I'm not going to let you steel man me into some other redneck defined area that you want your chat to keep blastering about, saying that I don't know what the fuck's going on. I never sat here and said I know exactly the countries. Okay. I just said there had to be an agreement. I didn't know that there was a written one. Hang on. I'm not done. I didn't ask. I wasn't the one asking you about the agreement being a fucking finite thing. That's why I asked you about China too. I asked you, do we have it signed? I don't know that. I don't know those things. Here's what I do know. We have no reason to be there. None. We forced our hands there. We're still putting our hands in the business that we don't belong in. It's no different than the Iraq war in the first place. It's no different than the past 20 to 30 years we spent battling bullshit. There's no reason for us to be there. I don't give a fuck about Ukraine. I don't give a fuck about Russia. Let them figure it the fuck out. That's where I'm at. And I don't understand why that's such a problem for everybody. You're over here shilling that they're going to win, and you've been shilling for the past 3 months, this bullshit. You've even went over there. You got pictures. Hey, I was there. Hurrah, MSM, let's get it done. Everybody's in agreement that this is such a great thing, yet if it was so easy, why isn't Russia lost? And if he's been on the fucking ropes, then why isn't he done? And if you really want to talk about nukes, he could have used them a long time ago. He's very strategic. You got to give him that. You can't say he's a fucking idiot like me.
I can't.
You can't say Putin's an idiot like me.
Well, I would say militarily he is, but I mean, like, I would say
you have to look at this past your little focused lens of one side and just step out of it.
Okay, so
what are we doing there, and why are you shilling it, and why is our tax dollars going there?
Okay, so it's hard to. Okay, so I care about this issue a decent amount, and so I support Ukraine for a whole host of reasons. But I think just going straight off, let's talk about NATO for a second. The reason why NATO expanded into Poland, into Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, into all these states, Hungary, past the collapse of the Soviet Union, wasn't because of America's grand evil plan to conquer Europe. Right? America's done a lot of evil things. I can point towards Vietnam. I could point towards or experimentation on black people. There's a million things I could point to that America's done evil things. That was European nations terrified about one day Russia coming back. Because, even though Russia was down in the 90s, it doesn't mean Russia was out. That one day Russia would rebuild its army, would rebuild its nation, and it could come back one day, and it could invade. And for nations like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, that's a real threat because their nation has been occupied and conquered and colonized to a large degree by the Russian Empire historically. So, because of that, they came to NATO and they asked to be admitted. And the thing is with NATO, it's a collective defense agreement. It's not like we go to you, we point a gun to you and say, you better join, motherfucker. They joined. They chose to join. And so they wanted to join because they wanted that collective defense. They wanted Russia to know that if they invaded, all of Europe and the United States would come to their defense, basically making it impossible for the Russians to invade them. So when we talk about like the expansion of NATO, people can blame that on the United States, but I would say that equal at responsible for the expansion of NATO would be Russia. Because it was Russia's abusive relationship with Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Ukraine, and all of these nation states that made them want to join NATO. Because if it wasn't, there could be many benefits from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine for them having a positive relationship with Moscow. If there wasn't this larger historical trend of Russia fucking these smaller countries over. And so that's the way I would personally frame NATO expansion post the collapse of the Soviet Union. As for the idea of like, why do I support Ukraine? I support Ukraine because Ukraine was invaded by another nation which denies its identity, which denies it the right to exist, which accuses its identity of being artificial, of Ukrainians of being little Russians, and claiming this is their historical clay, coming into annexed territory, destroy Ukrainian democracy, and destroy the Maidan revolution, which has brought good change to Ukraine. And I think that's bad because Russia's doing it to serve imperial interests and do what they think's best for them, which is subjugating the Ukrainian nation and not allowing their nation to rule itself in a democratic notion. And I think that's bad. And I think the United States should support the struggle for democracy in Ukraine, the defense of democracy in Ukraine. I think that's good not only for Ukrainians, but good for the rest of Europe, and great for the international community, for Ukraine to be a good economic and diplomatic partner of the United States. I think this is a good moral defensive war the United States is supporting.
So even the Wikipedia links and all those things that talk about the reason they believe, or the narration right now that we have of the Ukraine-NATO situation, they talk about how Russia didn't want Ukraine to join NATO because that would put NATO forces on their borders, right? And then you go back and look at history, which you, of course, want me to always do because you're supposedly the young 20-something-year-old globalist that understands everything. In '97, there was a mutual relations for the founding act on mutual relations, cooperation, and security between NATO and the Russian Federation. What did that entail? Are you versed on that one? Have you realized what that said and what was in that document and what that framework was set for the relationship between them?
I'm unfamiliar. Enlighten me.
No, I'm not going to enlighten you. I could give you a link for it. And
why'd you bring it up?
No, because I'm asking you if you're versed on it. I'm asking you how far back you've gone on history, because you seem to say this.
I don't know the specific document.
This has been perpetual.
No, I don't know the
specific
document.
I'll give you the link. It's on the state gov website. So I hope you trust my source.
Okay.
Here you go. I hope that's the right one.
Okay.
There you
go. Fantastic.
I'm not asking you to read it right now. I'm not asking you. I'm simply telling you, maybe look at the full history of these things, and let's see where the foundations were, because there had to have been an agreement, whether it was signed or not, that was based on this foundation of this framework. And then whenever we talk about a nation being attacked, of course, but Dylan, you're not going to get me on saying I don't want people protected, because I don't want anybody just disenfranchised or fucking. I don't want anybody attacked. You know me better than that. So don't sit here and make me out to be some fucking person that just wants violence on everybody.
I didn't say that.
I'm not that guy. But you don't. But what you're portraying is.
I didn't portray anything. I've only responded to I think your thing about NATO expansion, and then I gave you my reasons as to why I support Ukraine. I've said nothing about your character.
I do not believe that the U.S. should be involved. I believe that Ukraine could have handled this themselves. And if they can't, then we have a bigger issue, because they had a large military force of themselves already. I mean, if Russia was such a big bad wolf, I mean, here's the two arguments, right? At first, we're told that Russia's idiots, like you've been saying. Russia's going down. You've been saying it for 3 months now. I've been catching off and on your little title streams. They're going down. If they're so sucky, then this should have been done, and Ukraine doesn't need our help. On the flip side, they're holding back.
That's a very reductionist view of the situation.
And on the flip side, though, then why hasn't Russia just humiliated and dominated? If they're on the, I mean, you can't say it's one. It can't be they're incompetent and then turn around and say, but they have a massive force. You have a massive force. You can use it. So I would just ask you to look at the framework that NATO was trying to establish with Russia.
So Russia's already failed on the idea of, we need to stop NATO from being on our borders. NATO's already on the border of Russia and Estonia and Lithuania and Latvia. Russia is now also having NATO on the border when it comes to Finland because of their reckless actions towards Ukraine. It pushed Sweden and Finland, which had long-standing basically declared their neutrality on joining NATO, even if they have collective defense agreements with specific NATO states. That pushed them to join NATO because it terrified them, the idea of being invaded. Norway is on the Russian border. It's another nation that is a part of NATO. So the idea of we need to stop Ukraine from joining NATO because, it's on the border of Russia. I mean, this isn't the first time that we've had a nation state on the border of Russia be part of NATO. And if anything, Russia has made more nations with over 1,000 miles of border, like Finland, becoming NATO member state because of their reckless actions towards Ukraine. Because there's nothing that says maybe you should join a collective defense agreement like invading your neighbors. I mean, Russia sent Finland the message that, hey, you better do something because maybe you're next one day. You never know. Look, we're still invading our neighbors. We're still invading our neighbors because of, the Russian-speaking ties and the historical lands. And hey, that same context, that same justification could be applied to Finland. It could be applied to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. I mean, there's states within Russia's security arrangement, like Kazakhstan, when it comes to its Russian-speaking argument, like there's Russian speakers in these lands, that could be applied to nations like Kazakhstan. That's why you're seeing Kazakhstan give a decent amount of support for Ukraine, because they understand that same justification could be used against them. So stopping the expansion of NATO, Russia has been the biggest advocate for NATO expansion, not through their words, but through their actions, because they are the main recruiting force for NATO membership in the modern age, as we can see through Finland and Sweden. So, I mean, yeah, I could see Russia's perspective of it's threatening when NATO expands. But the reason NATO expands is because Russia keeps acting like a fucking moron, like with the invasion of Ukraine. As for this idea of I've been saying that Russia's gonna collapse any day now, I have generally been of the position that I don't think the Russian government's going to collapse. I don't think that Russia in and of itself is going to collapse. I've said this for a very long time, but I think the Russian military has been thoroughly humiliated in Ukraine. It was supposed to be the second most powerful military in the world that was supposed to take Ukraine in 3 to 5 days. That's what the Russian military thought. That's what the Russian government thought. That's what most international observers thought and security analysts thought. And Ukraine shocked the world with its ability to thrash the Russian military and stop it from taking Kiev, stop it from taking Kharkiv, stop it from taking Mykolaiv, even though it did take some cities. And now it's 220 days later, and the Russian government is mobilizing after a massive disaster for them that was the Kharkiv counteroffensive, which led to thousands of troops becoming casualties and tons of equipment being captured. So I think Ukraine has the long game down better as long as it has continued sustained Western support. And I think Ukraine has been performing very well. And as an American who saw the collapse of Afghanistan in like a week to the Taliban, and its leader just stuff dollar bills in the briefcases as they get on a plane and flee, it's quite refreshing to see a government stand and fight, deny the flights out of the country, and have the complete support of its people as it struggles as a young democracy to defend the revolution of Maidan against a force which seeks to install a puppet dictatorship in Yanukovych. So, yeah, I mean, you can say it's not our interest to be there. I would say that it is of the interest of any liberty-loving person to promote democracy in other nations that wish to have it, like in Ukraine.
Corporate warfare. Corporate warfare. That's where we're in, and you're shilling for it.
What?
That's where I'm at. This is all corporate warfare.
What?
Period.
Did you just watch? Did you watch the Cyberpunk anime?
When I said this was a made up war, that's my reference. This was all Jimmy and jockeying around for corporate interest to move around.
Are you a corpo or are you a edge runner?
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not even playing that game. I'm just saying these are corporate interests.
I'm with Arasaka personally.
If you ain't following the money, you did bring up Iraq, you did bring up Afghanistan. So if you want to think about those two, look at the past 30 years. You look past your age and look back at all the wars we've been in.
Can you point?
This is the same thing.
Is there any war from American history that you think was a moral war that we fought?
Looking back?
Yeah, any war. Can you point to any?
Well, it depends. I mean, moral is subjective. My morals are different than yours.
I'm asking about your morals. Is there any war that you would like, America was right there? Like, we did the right thing, you know? Like, I would say, like, the Civil War is one I would point to. I'd say World War II is a pretty easy dunk, right? Easy one, right? Any of these wars? This is an easy question. Any of them?
It's subjective to. I mean, of course, Civil War and things like that. I mean, war is war. I don't like it. I don't like war. I don't like just death. I don't like that shit. I don't want us to sit here and try to glorify that there's a right and a wrong, because right now there's no right. People are dying.
I do think there was a right and a wrong, and I think the Nazis were wrong, and I think we were right. But that's my morality, right? I think that the World War II was a righteous war.
So you're gonna go right to Nazism when you look at me and go, I think that was right. Of course, like are you trying to pigeonhole me and say I don't think it was morally right to take them out?
No,
is that what you're saying?
It'd be very easy for you to say.
Is that your reference?
It would be very
just like your first reference was go to the Civil War.
What?
Because you want to attack two different things that are racistly based. You're trying to project here.
The reason why I mentioned these two is because they're so easy. It's very easy to say who was the good guy there and who was the bad guy there. Of course it is, Dylan,
for fuck's sakes. That's what I'm saying about you. You're so simple-minded and go to the simple punchlines. Why don't you think a little deeper?
Well, but
you're asking me a simple question. It's so hard, redneck. What do you think is moral? Do you think war's moral, redneck? Which war would be moral, redneck? How about the Civil War? Was that moral, you racist fuck? Or how about the Nazis?
I didn't call you
was it
racist.
Good for us to take them out? You fuck.
I didn't call you racist.
Dylan, you don't have to. The way that you act, the smugness and the way that you present this bullshit is what I'm telling you. You're shilling for fuckery, man.
So you
need to wake up.
So all I wanted to do was establish to you that there is the possibility of fighting a moral war in America's history, right? That's all I wanted to establish with you. I wasn't trying to call you racist. I just wanted you to.
You didn't, Dylan.
I wanted you to acknowledge. I wanted us to work off of a foundation.
Combat armed veteran. You're talking to an actual person that's seen guns and been shot at and shot at. Okay.
Okay.
So listen to me. When I say that morals are subjective, both sides of the fucking fence think they're moral in their argument. They think they're moral in the war. Russia thinks they're being moral. Ukraine thinks they're being moral. I'm begging you to sit here and stop and quit trying to do the one-sided thing and look at this objectively. For fuck's sakes.
I would really appreciate it if you answered my question. I acknowledge your service, okay? I acknowledge that you speak about war from a position of somebody in service. But I've also met a lot of people out here who are serving and have served who are very passionate about this war too. And about supporting Ukraine's fight for freedom. And so all I want to establish with you is that there is, in American history, there have been wars that we fought that we were on the right side of, and that it was good for us to fight that war and win it, right? I'm not trying to call you racist. I'm not trying to call you sexist.
You believe this war is one of those where we're on the right side then? That's what you're saying.
Well, no, can we just establish this first? Because earlier you said this is a corporate war. So I wanted to establish
I believe that
please
in my
answer
lifetime.
Please answer my question.
I did answer. You didn't hear me. I said World War II. World War II is where I'm probably going to leave off with you, where I think that was the last official, and I'm still, and when you look at history though, man, I mean, come on. There's financial ties to all this.
Yes. Okay, so World War II was the moral war we fought. So in World War II, plastic manufacturers took off, and they took off big. If you look at airplanes at the time,
so did hemp, so did canvas, so did.
Okay, yes, a lot of people like plastic manufacturers, like hemp manufacturers. These companies made a fucking shitload of money off the war. And it was in their interest for the war to last as long as possible so they could keep on making money. That does not make it so that the war was immoral because people were profiting off of it. Now, I could say...
Every 10 to 20 years since World War II, we've been in war.
Please let me finish, Redneck. Please, I can't talk to you if you don't let me finish any of the points I'm trying to establish. Now, considering the fact that people make money off of it, I agree that there's something wrong morally with somebody making a buck off of the industry of killing people. There's a perverse incentive there, but that does not necessarily mean that us fighting a war makes it immoral because people make money off of it. People have made money off of war since the inception of war and the selling of weapons and ways to kill other human beings. But there have been many wars that have been right to fight, like the Civil War, like World War II. So just because people are making money off of this war does not mean that it is an immoral corporate war. There could be a moral standing for it, like the defense of democracy, the defense of sovereignty, and Ukraine asserting itself as its own people and right to its identity, which Russia does intend to erase, as Russia asserts that Ukraine is an artificial state and the little Russians.
Every 10 to 20 years, we've been in massive wars and/or operations, and all of them are tying together under the auspice of what? Expanding westernization, American democracy across the globe. Yeah? That's the pitch you're giving right now, right?
The pitch is expanding American democracy across the globe? No, that's not my pitch for supporting Ukraine.
Wait. Ukraine can't obtain freedom and prevent themselves from being attacked because they don't have enough manpower, weaponry, and so they need our money, right? And they need all the weapons they can get. That's what you said earlier. You said that they should be fine as long as that stuff keeps coming in.
I said that I do believe that Ukraine should get help from the West. The global recession happening has nothing to do with all this stuff that's been popping off. And you don't think that's tied together? I think it's somewhat tied together. I think Russia has somewhat, damaged the international economy through its invasion, which is not surprising considering that we are a globalized economy. And if you invade other nations that you have economic ties with, that's going to have a detrimental effect on the economy. That's why, you know, there were economists back in the 1980s and 90s who said, you know, we'll never see one nation with a McDonald's invade another nation with a McDonald's, because if they do, they're going to lose all the economic benefits that led to them getting that McDonald's. They're going to lose the trade. They're going to lose the markets. They're going to be sanctioned, which, I mean,
what's that going to do to them? What is that going to do to them with BRICS? They Brazil, India, China, Russia, right? They got their own shit going, right? They got their own little consortium, just like Europe tried to pull off, right? Before Britain said, fuck it.
No.
You do realize that they've collectively started a collab.
You cannot make up for the economic agreements and ties and infrastructural investments that Russia made with Europe, and the trade with the United States, and the financial institutions that America has a lot of, you know, control over. You cannot make that up on the spot with India and South Africa or China.
Of course you can, but you have to consider what China and Russia and Brazil have been doing over these past few years, especially with gold.
They have not done enough. They have not done near enough. They haven't done 5% of what would be necessary.
Government, look, Dylan.
No, I can explain to you in detail why it's not enough.
Financially, the financial collapses that are happening across the globe are just really starting to show themselves publicly. You know this. I know you're smart enough to know that. This war was not proxied via the mechanism of saving somebody's asses financially, and I'm saying our own accountability here in that picture. When you talk about Europe, when you talk about
which
the Nord
financial
Stream pipeline,
collapse?
when you Europe's collapsing, right?
Really?
It's been collapsing for years. That's why Britain wanted to get out. Well, didn't Greece's taxes alone, didn't their debt ratio alone fucking hurt the EU?
What?
Didn't it? Wasn't it Greece?
Does Greece have economic problems? Yes. Is it in collapse? No.
It caused Europe. That was one of the main factors. Reason Britain was backing out of the EU, because it couldn't financially keep up with the drain of the debt of the other countries. Come on, Dylan. Don't be disingenuous here on this.
You think that?
So I'm implying that that's all of these things that we're seeing happening. Either you have to say it was Russia that made the first move. Russia made the first move. How does it benefit them? How does it benefit Russia?
Why would the UK leave the European Union because of Greece? Could you explain to me why?
Corrupt, bankrupt man.
No, because I was using it as an analogy. You can go back and look at the actual thing if you want to talk about it on a different night. We're going to stay right here on this war. I was using it to tell you that the same thing, financial system, right? They have the ability. Russia and China are the two. China alone is outpacing us. They are outpacing us financially, right? We're told that they're failing, right? But all of our consumer goods come from there. Everything that's in front of you came from there.
Yep. China relies a lot on us.
We're consumers. We need to consume.
And they're sellers, and they need to sell.
So when you look at this, I'm asking again, you're saying that Ukraine needs all of our love and support and help. And we're picturing this as a moral conversation, when my argument is it's made up because this is a corporate conversation.
That's every war. This is every war. This is a boring analysis put forward by people who are unimaginative.
Boring analysis? If it's happening at every war, it's been happening ever since I've been alive, and you, of course, have been alive.
You know what?
So it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, we shouldn't have fought Hitler, because Pearson would have made money off of bullet. This is very smart.
Oh, no. Oh, so that's what it is. That
is what it is. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. This is boring, man. This is not good analysis. This is not good analysis. Yes, people make money off of war. People have made money off of war since the beginning of human beings. It doesn't mean there was never a war worth fighting.
This war is okay. So did he attack Ukraine to make money? That's it?
Did he? No,
there's no value for Putin here.
He wrote an article explaining.
Hello?
Is your mic? Do you not hear me? Is there something wrong?
Yeah, you kind of cut out. You're sounding real fake. Your shit doesn't sound good on this side.
It doesn't sound good. I think I have the. Let me change mics, but I believe Russia invaded for a few reasons. I think
Holy shit, there you are.
I think one of the major reasons was historical. I think Russia believes Ukraine doesn't have a right to exist, that Ukrainian identity is not valid, that it's just a form of Russian, that the Ukrainian language is just like a offshoot of Russian, that, you know, Dmitry Medvedev said Ukraine is a disease of the mind. Putin in his speech said that, you know, Ukraine's an artificial state created by the Soviet Union, and that Ukraine, separate from Russia, cannot exist. And with these,
so he's doing the China one policy.
Basically. Yeah, basically, yeah, very kind of similar by the idea that Ukraine doesn't have an identity. This is the same position that Russian czars had. Like, for example, Tsar Alexander, of course, had Ukrainian banned as a language. You could not speak and write in Ukrainian in Russia. It was banned because they were trying to Russify Ukraine. This is why when they talk about Russian speakers, that's where the Russian speakers came from. They came from massive amount of repression of the Ukrainian language, and kind of like this propaganda being pushed that the Ukrainian language was uneducated and it was rural and it's like hillbilly nonsense, right? This wasn't only pushed during the Russian Empire, but this was also pushed.
You mean to tell me Russia talked about Ukraine the way you talk about me? Okay, fair enough. Keep going. You can escalate this. We can get back to the subject part of it, right? It's corporate. You even flew your own ass. You took your own ass over there to get. Yeah. You took your own ass over there to launch your fucking stream to a higher level. Don't act like you didn't do this shit.
Did I?
Yeah, of course you have.
Why didn't I?
Fucking course you did.
So why didn't I leave when I didn't see an uptick in viewership and when I saw a massive decrease in the amount of viewership I was getting and the amount of watch time I was getting? I stayed. I've been here for most of the war now. I have taken a massive financial hit to do this. This has cost a lot of money. I do less deals with advertisers, and I get less views overall. And I have worse internet connection. So what was the financial purpose? Like, I could have done this for a month and then left. I've been here for 4 or 5 months now.
So you went over there to be a journalist on the scene? What took you there?
What took you there,
Dylan?
Ideological motivation.
Your morals. So you're there just for your moral reasoning, right?
I mean, I'm there.
Have you picked up a gun? Are you carrying a gun? Are you helping out during the day?
Are you asking if I'm a soldier? I'm not a soldier because I'm not trained to be a soldier. I've sometimes helped with aid.
You know how to carry a gun.
I've helped with aid deliveries, but I mean, I don't think that's what you want. You want me to say I'm going to fight on the front lines, inshallah. I think that's what you want to hear from me.
No, I'm just going to tell you that this is I still will stand by. There's a made up war, and it's either and from your standpoint, Russia, you're trying to put the moral agenda on. You're trying to put it on that I don't want. I want to support Russia.
I didn't say that.
I'm saying it clearly. I fuck Russia. Fuck Ukraine. Okay, fuck them both right now. For me, I don't give a fuck.
What a centrist.
Fuck them both. So here's the second thing. I want us to take accountability for us. We blew that fucking pipeline up. We had to. There's no reason. Period.
Wow.
There's no reason. There's no fucking reason.
That. Thank you.
Because you know, our president promised.
Do you have any evidence?
He actually promised. I don't have to. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I got a president who says evidence? I have a president who said that we will make it go away. Like, he clearly stated it's going. So get your memes in, man. I'm trying to give you some extra stuff right now. Listen, you, morals and all, are over there doing a show, and you're not participating. Oh, I delivered some aid. Yeah, okay, and Donald Trump threw paper towels at Puerto Ricans. Remember that? You're over there throwing paper towels, Dylan. It's a corporate game, and you're over there playing it just as much. Yeah, you're losing the game, though, because, you're not getting your sponsorships.
What do you know about journalistic ethics? I'm curious.
There are none anymore. There's no true journalist out there. Journalists don't give a fuck. They're not the fourth pillar anymore.
There is no way for me to have came over here and done journalism in a way that would have been acceptable to you then, if there's no good journalists.
I just don't believe. I mean, if you're calling yourself an official journalist and that's why you went, if that's the air quote you're doing. What's
an official journalist? Well,
that's what I'm trying to understand. Because you just said,
I am a journalist.
What's journalistic?
Whether I like it or not, I'm a journalist. What I've done here is journalism.
I'm a journalist. I'm a fucking journalist. I'm doing journalism from my house right now. Okay. Right? When we speak publicly, that's the same as what a journalist does. You're choosing to participate on one side of the fence, and you're advocating and shilling for one side of this story. A journalist would look at both sides and try to give the narrative individually.
The
AKA
problem is
outside.
I don't think is the thing is I
You're
I
not
don't pretend.
there genuinely. You're not being genuine.
What do you mean
there.
I'm
Your
not
morals,
there genuinely?
You're more. If you were there morally, right? If you were there because you truly feel people are dying in the streets unjustly, and that the major things are happening, you wouldn't be streaming. You'd be actually filming yourself participating full time, 24/7, every time you're awake.
What is that?
You're over there to
I would
glory in this
die,
thing, right?
I would die, and I would get other people.
Of course
killed.
you would. That's what your morals. That's what you stand up for. If you have fucking morals.
That's not my morals.
So you believe you believe that NATO and U.S. and all of us are doing the right thing. We're on the right side of history, Dylan. You're right there on the fucking front lines, man.
God.
Make it happen. Stand up for the cause. It's good for somebody else to die, but not you to stand up for.
No, I'll get other people killed because if I live stream Frontline, you know what they'll be able to see? I didn't say live stream.
I said record yourself. I said record yourself. That way you can still get your takes.
Okay, so
there's a lot of guys that recorded themselves in the army. There's a lot of guys that during the battles recorded themselves.
So you mean like going to the front lines and recording like soldiers and the fighting and like stuff like that? Yeah,
participate. You really want to be a journalist? Show us all. Show us the real deal.
Yeah, well, I would never do that. I couldn't. There's no way I would ever do that type of thing.
I know, because you don't have morals. Your morals are tempered.
Yeah. I mean, I could never go near the front lines ever.
Yeah, you did right here. That's good. See?
I could never do it.
How many times have you done it? How many times?
I don't know, 3 or 4 probably.
Once for a Photoshop? So why aren't you helping there?
What do you mean helping? What is this moral grant thing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm sitting on my fat ass eating a cracker.
So I don't care. Why should I care about your opinions and like you holding me to high moral standards when you're not having any impact on the world?
Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. Just because you're streaming and sitting your ass over in Ukraine and preaching that this is going to be a moral just battle, and you make your little appearances on the front line, there's still people dying tonight. There's going to be a person shot here in a second.
Yeah, I know.
And we're sitting here. And we're all sitting here going, it's no big deal. The big deal is this is a corporate fucking campaign.
Dude,
and we the U.S. are responsible.
This is just another war for you to grandstand on. These are my friends, okay? You can say like I don't care or whatever. Some of my best friends are in this country, right? I do care when my friend comes to me and tells me their father was torn apart by a Russian artillery shell. Like I am a human being who has human emotions. And if you want me to go to the Russian front and talk to their soldiers, I think that's something you'd probably encourage a lot. The problem is I can't. The Russian government wouldn't allow me. They'd arrest me on sight. They don't even allow me to call it a war. If I called it a war in Russia, I could get 10 to 15 years in prison. So the difference is, when you talk about showing both sides, is one side is actively trying to stop me from showing the war, while the other side is actively encouraging me to come here and do journalism and give me the like all this access to all these people to interview freely. So yeah, I'm doing journalism to the best of my ability. And I don't like this idea of like journalists have to just, look at a situation and say, and be 100% impartial. 100% impartial. They can't let their emotions, or they can't be honest about their opinion. Like when I see something, I should be like, a man raped a woman yesterday. Whether that was good or bad, I'll leave up to the judges. Like, no, that a monster did something evil yesterday. He's a fucking pig, and I hope he gets arrested. He puts under the prison. When it comes to the Russian invasion was wrong. What they did in Izium is god awful. There's a real question about genocide to be proposed here, as the New Lines Institute talked about, and the Russian army must be smashed and pushed out of Ukraine. Yeah, I have a position on it, and I don't think not holding a position is something that is morally righteous in a war that is so clearly defined on who is the one being invaded, who is the one being brutalized, who is the one being hurt, and who is the invader, who is the culprit here.
Okay. Your morals are so much different than mine, right?
I think the majority of people's morals are different than yours.
So did you see anybody lives taken? Were you in active battle or just photo opping?
What kind of fucking retard statement is that? Redneck. What do you mean?
It's an actual statement. I'm looking at the footage right now that you're sharing.
Do you know how fucking terrible what you just said is? Like, have you seen any?
Is this on the line?
This is the equivalent of you like, have you seen a dead body? Have you seen a dead body, Dylan?
Those are the kind of questions that you give to me when you start going, do you know what the agreement was?
That's not the same type of question.
I'm going to sit here. I'm going to downplay your participation in an unjust and fake ass war. I think you're a corporate shill. And I'm saying it to you right here. You're over there perpetuating this bullshit. You're painting rosy ass pictures about, we're doing a moral just thing when both sides can claim that. And I'm asking you to sit there and
every side in a war can claim they're in the right. That, of course, but I'm saying one side is, and I'm presenting my argument for it. But you're
being paid to be there.
I am
you're getting
not.
Access to
I have spent.
You got sponsorship.
I have no.
You got some sponsors.
No, I don't. What sponsor? What sponsor do I have?
Who you living with? You stayed with a sponsor? Didn't you get over there with sponsorship?
I pay for my apartment here. I pay for everything. I have spent my college savings on this. I have spent most of my money on this. I have really thrown myself into this completely. This is what I plan to preoccupy myself with until the war is won, no matter how little people are covering it. You talked about all this money I'm making. Did you see my last video? My video that's from today? It got 4,000 views in 10 hours. If you were to look at my viewership numbers before the war and after, I'll be somewhat public about it. Before the war, I was getting, I think, 800,000 views to 1 million a month. It was amazing. Now I'm performing 200,000. I've lost so much because I'm concentrating on this war and I choose to stay with this war and I'm not moving my viewership onto something else. I have completely fucking destroyed my YouTube income. Completely destroyed it. I have destroyed a lot of my stream income. I've destroyed fucking so much. And so you'd be like, oh, you're here for profit. If I was here for profit, I would have been here a month, found out that this wasn't profitable and left.
So you should get better footage then, so that way you'll have some money to be made because trauma sells, and all the news outlets won't send their actual people into the front lines. I mean, because none of those guys are going to go get actual footage. So if you have the ability to get footage on the front lines, Dylan, there's a way for you to be able to make some money. I mean, you're there, you morally agree with the fight. You got the equipment, you have the ability. You could be right there, embedded, with a big press sign on that nice vest you had, and put a helmet on. Paint it white with a big red cross on the top of it too, so that way you can do your medic stuff.
They don't care about that. They'll shoot you.
Bro, you should be fine.
They don't care. They don't care if you're pressed. They'll kill you no matter what, man. The Russians just shoot whatever moves.
Of course, but that's what being on the front lines are.
I took those risks. I took those risks, and I plan to take those risks again if I'm given the opportunity. Okay. But just because I filmed at the front line doesn't mean somebody's going to give me a ton of money for it. The thing is, there's a reason why conflict journalism isn't the hot thing that everybody wants to get in. Is because it's not that rewarding. It can be quite expensive. It has quite a toll on your mental health, and there's not a lot of accolades, to be completely honest. Like, if I ask everybody, name your most famous conflict journalist, most people won't be able to name maybe more than one person. Like,
Major Garrett was one of my favorites.
There's not a lot, man. There's not a lot of very famous conflict journalists. The people who do this usually do it because they somewhat care about the conflicts they're covering and about journalism. I mean, is it very that difficult for you to imagine that I'm doing this because I have ideological reasons outside of financial reasons? I would like to make money off of this. Let me be clear. I would like to make money off of this. Of course I would. I'm a grown man who wants to run a sustainable business. You can be passionate about something and want to make money off of it. I'm just not making money off of it right now. Okay,
so I'm trying to help you do it.
No, but your suggestion is go film at the front line.
Yes.
Do you think this isn't something I've considered?
Show people the real shit. Here's what I'm saying. Look, everybody can fucking say what they want about me, but I've never lied to you. When me and you have conversations, I'm gonna
close my eyes, and then you're gonna send me $1,000, okay? And
no, I'm not gonna send you $1,000.
What about security? What about security detail? What about gas? What about paying for fixers?
Why do you need security? You're a fucking grown ass man. Why do you need security detail? You don't know how to get around in the country being a man without worrying about any of this bullshit? Get yourself in line.
I'm sorry.
Say I'm a comrade.
I'm
say
sorry.
that I'm here with you guys and get it done.
That's not. Look, you going to a foreign country at war, you're going to need to make some connections. Yes.
Sure. Yes. I'm telling you to get out and start making those connections. Get yourself closer. You don't have to be in fucking right on the line. You know what I'm saying, though. But you've made a few little trips close, but you know what I'm saying. There's a certain distance that actual embedded journalists won't go. Now, the militaries, all militaries have their own people.
I don't know. I do want to go back. What I wanted, I do want to do these things, right? But it's not as simple as you just go do it, right? It's not that simple. It takes a lot.
It actually is.
You do it.
I don't support these guys.
Well,
and the moment the shit kicks off at home, I'm there.
No, you won't.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Number one, it's not going to kick off. Okay. Number two, you wouldn't be there. I don't think you would.
Well, you can say that. And I'll accept you saying it. That's fine. You can say it. It's the same thing as you're sitting here telling me you know morally where you're at. I know where I'm at. Period.
Well, the difference is you see me in Ukraine. I don't see you training no fucking militia. Okay.
I don't need to train a militia. I stay trained myself. That's the whole concept of what the term
you stay trained
2A means. Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
I still use weapons on a freaking weekly basis. Are you kidding me?
How's the nunchuck gonna deal with a drone?
The nunchuck.
You
think I have nunchucks?
Yeah, you're gonna like nunchuck the drone.
I got bows and arrows, man. What are you talking about? I got bows and arrows.
I'm sorry. Your bows and arrows will take out the drone. Okay.
Yeah, I'll use my little EMP add-on that I've got for my new broadhead. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just gotta shoot it within range and then just done.
Look, all I know is that the Native Americans use bows and arrows, and I don't really know any Native Americans.
You were born in America. That makes you Native, doesn't it? Anybody born in the continent is a Native American, aren't they? Isn't that how it works?
No, that's
not.
Or
are we talking about history?
No, I think we both know what I was talking about, and I think you're being facetious.
No, I got lost. I got lost there. I got lost.
A Native American I messaged him. Okay, he's ready. You have a good one, okay?
Enjoy yourself, Dylan.
Okay, you have a good one.
Be safe.
Be safe. Okay. Fan favorite. Redneck. Who doesn't like redneck? Doesn't everybody love redneck? Redneck. Woo, redneck. Woohoo.